So thanks for coming back, you guys, for our next episode and conversation with a friend of mine. Her name is Jenna Schroeder, who I have the honor and pleasure of meeting through our mutual friend Joseph over at Core Power Yoga. She is our 6 a.m. Friday teacher, and it's your class I absolutely love. When I first met you, you have this like really calm demeanor that I didn't expect your class to be like as strong and powerful as it is, because you're just very calm and your demeanor is just so very light. And I was pleasantly surprised that, after taking your class, I was like, wow, it's awesome how you have this style of being very calm, and then you like hit us right in the rib cage. So that's how I describe your class.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love having you.
So like how over the years, so like you started with Core Power Yoga, right? So what drove you to decide that I want to go the Core Power way? Amongst all of the other options that you had out there, I'm sure you had a lot. What drove you to Core Power?
Yeah. So I started at Core Power in Minnesota. My roommate from college invited me to go, and so I went and checked it out, and it was like overwhelming and great at the same time, the way I think a lot of people probably describe Core Power Yoga. And I didn't know anything about meditation, anything about yoga. I just knew that I felt really good after the practice. I really liked the heat. I really liked the way it made my body feel when I went. And so I kept going over the years when I lived there. I started doing their like work for trade program during college, where you can get a free membership for working there. And then I got transferred. I graduated from college and started working there and got transferred for work down to Arkansas. And there weren't really a lot of yoga studios by my house in Arkansas, so I started learning how to practice at home a little bit, which is kind of like the window into other types of yoga than just kind of that physical practice that I had been doing before. So I was in Arkansas for a year, and then my job at the time transferred me out to California. And once I got here, I knew I had really missed my daily yoga practice. Being in a studio with that energy, I knew I still had so much to learn, and so being in a group setting was really beneficial for me. And so once I got out here, Core Power was kind of all I had known as far as yoga studio, so I went to Core Power out here. After a few months, decided I really wanted to learn more and did the teacher training. So I got certified, and then that's kind of where my world really opened up. Like, I didn't really plan on teaching, I just planned on learning.
It just kind of happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, all right, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I was so shy
Same,
when I did
likewise.
the training. Like, my voice was shaking every single time I would speak. I was like super quiet, so of course I didn't know how to project my voice in front of people. And so it's just funny to think back that now I'm actually teaching almost full time. So yeah, if anyone is ever starting training, I always encourage them to just give their path some time to grow, because
as a practitioner, you mean?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, or as a teacher, either one. It takes so much time. So so I did that training, and then started teaching just gym yoga. I taught free outdoor classes in the park.
So speaking of gym yoga, you teach at LA Fitness, right?
Yeah.
So what like I started off as a yogi at 24 Hour Fitness. That's where my yoga career began as a practitioner. And nowadays there's yoga studios everywhere. So there's a big difference between studio yoga and gym yoga, right?
Yeah.
And you teach at both. So like what are some of the differences, or what are some of the things that you've noticed as a teacher yourself?
Yeah, I think in the gym there's a lot of beginners, a lot of people that aren't necessarily seeking out yoga as much as just something kind of different than their normal routine. I originally intended to just get experience teaching at LA Fitness and then maybe intended to leave and just do exclusively studio yoga.
Right.
But I've kept my classes there because the people are so great. They're so not stuck up yogis. Like, they're just like excited to be there practicing.
Right. The non-yogis doing yoga.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're not following that stereotype of like, I need to have this perfect yoga practice and do all these inversions. They're just there to move their body.
Right.
And it's such a great atmosphere, and so I'm super grateful for it.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, I'm definitely a fan of gym yoga because that's where I came from, and just exactly how you explained it. You know, that's what I love about that yoga culture.
Yeah.
Is that you kind of have that normalcy, so to say.
Yeah.
And nothing against like yoga studios or anything like that, obviously, because we love practicing at those studios, but it's a different vibe, it's a different feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then at those some gym classes can be really, really big, since you're using their regular gym studio where they do Zumba and you know, weightlifting and all the other stuff, like classes of 60 people plus sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of introduces this element of you just have to relax and go with it, because I think in a studio space it can be a little intimidating for someone to come in and be like, this is a sacred space, I have to be quiet, and it's so, you know, there's like music and essential oils, and in the gym it's like people just come, and some people like come in 10 minutes late and there's nothing I can do about it, because that's just the culture. And I totally love that they're coming in, because getting 50 minutes of yoga is better than nothing, so even if you're late. So it's a really fun culture, and the people just work hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So do you envision yourself continuing to teach gym yoga as you continue on in your teaching career?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gym yoga, park yoga, beach yoga,
wherever,
all that stuff. Yeah.
Anywhere, anytime, any place.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So speaking of any place, you come from Minnesota. What's the yoga culture there like compared to, I guess, your experience here so far, living in beautiful Hermosa Beach area?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
You know, the cool thing about LA, is we have access to so many different yoga studios, teachers. Right now I'm doing my 500-hour certification through YogaWorks, you know that, so that's totally different than Core Power. And so Minnesota, you know, the yoga culture isn't quite as booming there aren't as many studios. Minnesota, the Core Power studio specifically, like, they start on time. Like, if you're like a minute late, they're like, sorry, the door is closed.
Really?
Whereas LA, people are always, you know, in traffic.
I'm texting you, Jenna, hold the door for me, please. I'm almost there.
Yes, and you're not the only one doing that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more, I would say, structured maybe. And I would say maybe more strength focused. Whereas when I moved to LA, I noticed a lot of dancers coming to class, a lot of people who really love to focus on that flexibility aspect.
And I'm sure a lot of athletes, dancers, different people from different avenues and what they do, they're coming to yoga as a supplement to what they're doing. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I would also say Minnesota, just as a culture, maybe isn't, at least where I'm from, isn't such a culture focused on like fashion and having like the most updated yoga trends and clothes and the fancy
pants,
yoga pants.
Sure,
yeah. So that was different for me to adjust to when I moved to LA. I was like a little thrown off by that, but
yeah, for
both
sure.
are cool. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you have the brands that are coming out, and everyone has to have the best looking ones or the newest trends, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's great because like we like clothes and we like comfortable yoga attire. Yeah, I can see that you know, me being from LA, I don't really notice that. You know,
yeah.
You come from probably, it sounds like a little bit more conservative or low-key kind of place.
Yeah.
And the yoga is just yoga.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
So do you see it booming over there? Is it really advancing as fast as it is here or any other parts?
It's definitely growing. Yeah. I mean, Minneapolis as a whole is growing a lot. And so with that, the yoga studios are growing there. As far as like compared to other cities, I don't know for sure, like if it's growing faster or slower, but definitely seeing an increase in focus on mindfulness in general. And you see a lot of Fortune 500 companies growing there and bringing in young professionals. And with that, I think in their companies, they're trying to focus on mindfulness and aspects where they can allow their employees to chill a little bit. So yoga is super important for that.
Sweet. Right on. So do you ever go back home, so to say, and teach, or are you just a practitioner and you go back home?
Yeah, when I don't teach at any studios there. Yeah, every time I go home. You should make
a guest appearance, Jenna, from Hermosa Beach, Southern California.
Yeah.
Coming back home to teach and draw that large crowd.
Yeah, I do a lot of family and friend privates.
And that's cool too. Hey, that's
things there.
Yeah, it's a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. So, what's next for you? What are you doing now? What is your plans for like the next year?
Yeah. Learning more. So always a student first. Finishing my 500-hour certification. I've been really enjoying that.
Cool.
And I would just like to get more into different groups of people that are looking for yoga. I love working with pre and postnatal women that are looking to either start a yoga practice prenatally or postnatally, or continue a practice. I'm a certified doula, so that kind of goes hand in hand together. And then, yoga with kids, getting yoga into schools, high schools.
yogamotionclasses.com.
Yes, I think it's so important first of all, to learn a yoga practice as a kid is so beneficial, because a lot of us don't learn it until we're 20, and it just takes longer to get that in the mind. But otherwise, high school students, I think, too, are going through so much pressure nowadays and have so much going on. And
absolutely. Yeah. I used to be a high school counselor, and I wish during that time I was able to bring yoga to those students, or just mindfulness, or just the proper way to breathe early on in my career, because like you're right, that age group is a very crucial age where they go through a lot. They don't have the coping skills and mechanisms to be able to deal with life's pressures and stresses and stuff like that. And so I bet you can agree with me by saying if we had yoga at that age, we would be able to like maybe manage that period of life a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then maybe that would have like helped us as adults to further, have that capability of like mindfulness and being able to slow things down and deal with things in a proper way, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, when I was in high school, I was a freshman and we had a shooting in our school. I think I might have mentioned that to you.
That's right. Share that more.
Yeah, so, 2 people died from that shooting, but the whole school was in lockdown. It was a very small community, a very small school, and so it really hit the community hard. And I remember at the time they did offer counseling services for us, but I never personally went to them because I didn't think they would be helpful.
Sure.
And sometimes when I look back and I think if we had yoga, it might have helped me kind of move through some of those feelings a little bit easier than I did at the time. So I think, as kids just deal with all of these things that are happening nowadays that didn't happen 20 or 30 years ago, I think having yoga can only be a helpful tool. And if a kid doesn't resonate with it, then that's okay too. Not everyone resonates with yoga or that type of thinking, but I think it's great to offer it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially, the time in today's society where we're at, with the shooting recently at the school. This is a solution right here. It doesn't solve that issue of guns in schools, but at least it's a contributing factor to help kids, especially the kids that are dealing with it now, and the families out in Florida. It's a good tool to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, cool. It's cool to hear your story and what you're doing. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hugs.
Yes.